Hello. I got quite a lot of views on my last one, even if most people didn't watch till the end, but there was some interest and I got some nice words, so I figured I might as well bring the other one. Week two, I played against this Oipon guy, another guy who kind of had a breakthrough while I was gone, taking a break. So I didn't know much about him personally. I've played against him on ladder a bit, and I know that much, and I know that he played for Tomahawk for the Lucky Lucarios in the PPL and did really well. And Toma was saying a lot of nice things about him, so he must be good. But I had no experience playing in any, bigger games or anything, at least none that I can remember. So I went for the, usual scouting the replays and checking tournament games and shit, and turns out he uses quite a lot of stuff. There's like a willingness to use like Smeagol, HO, and Stall-ish teams, but in the end, he's still French, and French players have a very distinct style. They like all love Gengar and Kyun and weird Calm Mind Rachi offense and shit like that. So I kind of was expecting something like that to come my way, because usually week one people tend to like try a little harder with getting out of their comfort zone in SPL, but week two most players fall back on their preferred things. So I knew some French team was coming my way. So it's gonna be like either Gengar or Rotom, maybe both, maybe Spikes, but probably not, or like Calm Mind, offensive sweepers, Ladias, some sort of water, probably a Swampert, shit like that, And teams like that tend to kind of not have good counterplay to hazards, so I wanted Skarmory. And teams like that also tend to do pretty bad against Starmie in general, like offensive Starmie, I mean, not shit me. So I kind of wanted Starmie and Spikes. I went with Skarmory because it's the obvious spiker. It's by far the best spiker in the game, one of the best mons in the game, and it does really well against a lot of teams, especially if they bring like bulky Swampert or something like that. You get a lot of turns. So I went with Skarmory. I went with this EV spread. It's kind of my go-to EV spread if I'm not going for a more physically or full SDEF. Skarmory. If I go mixed defenses, I just go 16 plus on def, because it's a jump point and it also gives me like the biggest point value out of the nature. Because even if I max this out, the defense is still higher. And if I go for a plus SDEF nature, I just get fewer points. So I want as many EVs invested in this, because 4 EVs is always 1 point, but the nature invested in this because it, is dependent on the actual stat itself. So yeah, explanation for a EV spread that serves no other purpose than being generally bulky. I went with dual hazards because I couldn't fit them anywhere else. I kind of do not like this Skarmory, but it's fine, especially on offensive teams. A lot of Gyarados drop taunt, and so you can whirlwind them out, and you don't need to be doing damage to shit like Swampert or whatever. You can just whirlwind them out, and then win with the rest of your team. I went with this Starmie set. It's max speed, max ass attack, because that's simple. I could have dropped down here, and I probably should have, considering that I don't have Grass Knot, but I didn't. I don't have Thunderbolt, and Grass Knot doesn't do that much to the Starmies, but I didn't. But I could have. I probably should have. Ice Beam and Hydro Pump are probably the most important coverage. You only get walled by water types that way. Since the last video ended up being like 40 minutes long or something, I brought water this time because, gotta stay hydrated. I didn't expect it to be that long, but gotta say what I gotta say, man. Anyway, and I went for Grass Knot against instead of Thunderbolt for several reasons. One of them being I actually expected a Swampert. The other being I did not want to be full walled by Quagsire, because I've seen him use Quagsire Stall. And this team hard loses to Quagsire Stall if it's not Grass Knot Starmie. And the third reason being, what was it? It was I had expecting Swampert, not losing to Quagsire. Oh, and also because it hits T-Tar a lot harder without having to click pump. Because if T-Tar's like taken some chip damage from, for example, this year, and been weakened a little bit. Look, I'll show you. Of course, Hydropump does significantly more, but Grassnot's actually good damage. Look, it's like almost 50%. It's a 2-hit KO after rocks, I think, if I remember correctly. Yeah, almost always a 2-hit KO after rocks. So you don't need to risk pump, and you want to avoid hitting pump whenever you can. Then I went with this, because a lot of offensive teams struggle with Starmie, but they have like a T-tar that can come in, tank a Hydra, and pursue, kill the Starmie, or like do enough chip damage to the point where it cannot come in anymore. Since I have spikes and the Starmie that kind of wants chip on T-tar, Rotom's pretty natural, pretty obvious. I went with this set Colboberry Will Wisp because I can Wisp the T-tar and I can switch out and then spin block again. And that's kind of the biggest deal for this team. This team really like needs hazards, especially against defensive teams. And having a Rotom that can Wisp, spin block, switch out, and spin block again. Usually it cannot spin block a third time against T-tar, but it's fine. Usually 2 times is enough. So I went with this, HPIs for Flygon and for Breloom and for Dragonite and the usual suspects. Paint Split for some longevity against defensive teams, because, sometimes just sitting around against defensive teams can give you like value if you like Paint Split a Clef and then double switch into my next mon of choice, T-tar. I wanted some T-tar, partially to trap Rotom because it's really annoying, but also to get some chip damage on Clefable. And I actually went with Choice Band because Choice Band Pursuit against the usual Quagsire stall team. If you pursued the Clefable, Starmie is really threatened against these teams, so that was like the other combination to support Starmie, and it's also just a really good one by itself. Choice Band is fucking broken against any defensive team. They really struggle switching in. I had no move to hit Magnezone on this one, but I don't really need one. I mean, it's problematic and shit, but can't get away with just clicking Stone Edge against it because T-tar is also really bulky. So having this against offense, this against all, and the combination of Spikes and Rotom against defensive teams, I kind of wanted another one that does well against the HOs. And also I needed another move with an electric move, another one with an electric move to hit Skarmory and Gyarados. So I went with like my favorite mixed Rachi set. I love this. This coverage is just way too good. You can sweep so many teams with it, especially if you have Hazards. Hazards, mixed Rachi, and offensive Starmie. You're always good against offense. Always. There's like, of course, you cannot win just with these 3, but sometimes you actually can, and you always have the tools to win against offensive teams with these. I much prefer having leftovers on mixed Rachi or Lumberry, but I cannot afford it here. I need Shuka Berry against Dragonite's T-tar. So I have that, and it also helps me against mixed Flygon because my switch in is not existent and I want to limit its turns. That's also another reason why this is HPIs, by the way. Because of course I can kill it with this, I can kill it with this, I can kill here, this kills. But these two kind of, I mean, T-tar also kills if I catch it on the Ice Punch, but I want to limit the turns it gets. The more turns it gets, the fewer mons it can kill. Thunderbolt Ice Punch is the, age-old Bolt Beam coverage. You hit a lot of mons with it. HP Ground for Heatran and Magneton or Magnezone. And Ironhead because, Ironhead Rachi is, it's magic, There's not much to say about this. I made this EV spread SPL XII and I never went back. I honestly do not remember the details anymore, but it had some purpose, some very good purpose. I swear I didn't just randomly add numbers like I did for the Skarmory. This one actually has a purpose. This EV spread, by the way, is another Bluebird Genius Mind creation. It's so cool. He's smart. And as the last one, I just added I needed a Scarfer because the team's decently fast, but it's not fast enough to shut down heavy offensive teams. So I needed something that can revenge kill Tita, not Tita, Dragon Knight, Gyarados, and shit like that. So I went with Latias because it also gives me another fighting resist. I mean, I do have two, but both of them are not good into Seed Bomb from Breloom, and you need a Breloom counter. Switching. Against Breloom, the plan is usually to sleep Sex Skarmory after it has some hazards up and then go here with these two. I do not use Healing Wish on this team. I generally do not like Healing Wish. I think it very rarely pays off. There's more games in which I can see myself sweeping with Dragon Pulse than games in which I can successfully pull a Healing Wish off. Draco and Thunderbolt are kind of obvious. I could have used Thunder Wave, and I think I originally had it, and I got fucked by sub Gyarados a little too often, so I said, fuck it, I'm just putting T-Bolt. Yeah, that's the team. It's no black magic, or any colored magic, I don't know, just a very regular as Spikes, Rachi, Starmie offense onto the replay. Yeah. He leads with Swampert, I lead with Skarmory. Again, ideal lead matchup. I click rocks, he clicks rocks, I get spikes, he rolls me out, so I'm like, oh yeah, it's bulky too. And he rolls out Rotom, which is good. I do not like taking Ice Beam with Rotom, but this actually lets me like Wisp it. Psych. And this turns out to be quite an important this long term, because of course now it doesn't take the 6% chip damage and just keeps running around, and he rolls me to Tita, which sucks. I go Skarmory, he keeps roaring, he rolls me to Raj, another one I cannot hit it with, he keeps roaring. I go Starmie, and see, this is where the Wisp miss was massive. Of course, if that grab's not against Swampert, I'm gonna take it. I know it doesn't kill, I ran the cog. It does not kill usually, even if he had no SDF investment. As long as he's max HP, which the bulky ones are, it doesn't kill. Why is it shifting around so much? But I also just really wanted it damaged for my Rachi, because Swampert teams really suck into Rachi, into this particular mixed Rachi, if the Swampert took damage. But it lets him get an EQ against my Starmie off. It doesn't do much, it does 53, but it does enough for Starmie to be limited, because I'm probably not going to be able to spin, right? This has too much offensive value to spin. So it limits me to, what's that, 12, 24. Yeah, I get 2 more switch-ins. So this really useful offensive asset just had to take an EQ because I missed the Wisp. But it's mods, what do you want to do? I clicked Ice Beam here? Oh yeah. So I look at sand, at the sand chip and leftovers, and I'm like, yeah, I'm faster, I can just Hydro Pump. He goes to Lucario, reveals to be Thunder Punch, so this is Scarf. The reason I went Rotom instead of Skarmory was just in case he has these. By the way, I'm slower than most Lucarios, but with Colbo Berry I can live even a +2 crunch, just barely. But I take it. Not anymore, but I took it before the Thunder Punch chip. So here he goes Latias. I expected Latias to be there, but so that's why I didn't Wisp. If I Wisped, it would have taken less damage, but I figured I might as well hit it with some guarantee chip, and also if he goes Gengar on the Wisp, I'm kind of in a bad spot because Gengar is really broken. By the way, this is kind of exactly what I expected. This is what I mean when I talk about French teams. Swampert, Gengar, Latias, some Scarfer, and you know what the last are gonna be, right? There's like a Jirachi and something else, but there's definitely Jirachi. Here I make a really good play, by the way. So I do not have a lot of Latias switch-ins on this. My usual go-to would be Tita and Trap it, but I figured there's gonna be a Calm Mind Rachi back there somewhere, right? So I didn't wanna take unnecessary chip on T-Tar, because Calm and Raj, if it gets out of hand, can be really annoying. And I also figured I'm not gonna go Skarmory. He does not know my EV spread, but he knows I'm probably gonna be able to tank the Draco. So I figured there's no way he does not surf here. And I stayed in. I should have maybe paint split it in hindsight, but I figured I really want this like damaged and maybe even dead. So I clicked HBIs. Another reason I didn't want to have Skarmory take damage is because it invites Gengar in, first of all. Because I roost and he goes Gengar, and that's always problematic. And also because it's gonna be really useful against Scarf Lucario's close combats. This lets me go to Starmie. I could have maybe gone to my own Latias and something, but I didn't want to give Rachi 3 turns early on. See, this is where the fact that Starmie's damage really matters, because I have fewer switch-ins than this Lucario. From the way he played this, his water resist is Latias, right? And it's dead. So he has no switch-ins anymore. Even Latias, it's not a good switch-in in the first place. But because I had to take the EQ, Lucario has more switch-ins than my Starmie, so I'm gonna be forced out. This was a difficult turn for me, not gonna lie. I really didn't want my Latias to take chip damage, because I might end up being forced into a situation where I have to trick my Scarf on Rachi, and there could still be a Gyarados or something here. So I was trying to not get any damage on Latias. I also didn't want to reveal it too early, because, I mean, I assumed he knew what my Scarf was going to be, but I didn't want to reveal it too early. And it's also, my only month faster than Scarf Lucario, so I didn't want, but I had to go here. I didn't want to go Skarmory again for the same reason earlier, because I do not want to give Gengar free switch. And also, if you look at the cog, close combat, I was at 81. Close combat after rocks actually had a pretty decent shot to hit KOing, and he probably was adamant too, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I think he was adamant, judging from the cog. I think I knew at that point. Let me see, Thunder Punch did 12 only. Yeah, I think he must have been adamant from the 12%. Because this was shown as 12, but I think it was more in the actual, like I knew from the actual number. So yeah, so I had not good counterplay against close combat. I needed to predict and I didn't want to. But I had, Latias was my only switch in. So he reveals Skarmory. This is such a French team. There's nothing that screams I'm French, and I was heavily influenced by Boudouche and McMegan and Ojama in DPP, then bringing a team like that. They all have a very distinct style. It's kind of nice because it works for them, and it's also like a consequence of a legacy of great players leaving a lot of resources there and stuff. But it sometimes makes them a little predictable. Anyway, I did not want to see Skarmory here. I was not happy. I was expecting it because it's Scarf Lucario. There's a Gengar to spin block. There's almost definitely a Rachi. Actually, when he revealed Skarmory, I thought there is no way he has a Rachi last. I thought it was going to be a DDer, because this team just fucking sucks into Heatran this way. So it's like, it's going to be a DDer. I really need my Rachi at good health. I need to make sure I do not give him setup. And I definitely and almost certainly will going to need Latias to either trick or revenge kill a last mon that's almost guaranteed a setup mon. I was playing with Rachi at the back of my mind, but I didn't think it was going to be Rachi. I think Rachi kind of makes the team super weak to Heatran in a way. Like if it subs up on whatever, on like a locked Latias or something, it gets 2 kills. And that's not what you want. And it also kind of makes it weak to just, Infernape and Fire Mons in general. Although Infernape's, I guess, fine with 3 months faster than it. But yeah, it's a triple steel team with Rachi. Rachi also means that, like Magneton, if you lock Lucario into Ice Punch, Magneton can T-Wave Rachi, kill this, and you're kind of in a bad spot. But yeah, I was thinking it's probably DDT Tar. So he makes a good play here, he Whirlwinds, and I get a little lucky with the fact that he brings my Rachi out here. I'm kind of sad that I had to let go of Starmie, but I went here on the off chance he's greedy and spikes, and I could get a free pump, because that would have probably meant that I get a kill. By the way, the reason I went Starmie was also because from the set, from the Draco Meteor, I could see that he was like not fully special defensive, I think. Oh, actually, no, never mind. Forget what I was saying. Anyway, but either way, he had some SDF investment. I knew that much. I get lucky that he gets my Rachi out, and also that I get a paralysis. I mean, it's a 20% chance, but here, this is another good Whirlwind. Although at this point, any Whirlwind's a good Whirlwind, other than Starmie, because I figured I really wanted Starmie as a death for that against Scarf Lucario. But of course, I thought last was gonna be DDT Tar or Gyarados, so I was like, okay, if I Stone Edge here, he's gonna have to go Gengar and risk a Focus Blast, which fucking sucks for him, or gonna go Lucario. I can Death Fodder, I can go Scammer, and I can start Whirlwinding around and sweep with Latias, because any damage that Lucario takes just means that Latias sweeps. So I was thinking that with the fact that probably was Gyarados or DDT Tar and Manlice. The only way that would not have worked perfectly was if it was Calm Mind Rachi, in which case I would have needed to like do some trick shenanigans and do as much as I can between T-Tar and Rachi. He stays in and lets this die, which is fine. Although he could have maybe tried and preserve, but I don't think it was the best play. He goes Gengar. This was a tough turn. I didn't want to let go of my star because I really needed the Death Fodder against the Lucario. And I also figured if I go Scammer and he's like some weird taunt set or whatever, there's nothing gained there, and I also lose against Lucario. And if I go straight into Rachi, I don't take 2 Shadow Balls or a Focus plus a Shadow Ball if he hits one. So at this point I'm thinking, okay, the last one, if it's Rachi, I can probably make do with Trick and Skarmory and Whirlwinding it around a little bit and like then winning with my own Rachi. If it's any other, setup mon, then I'm super fine. So like I'm gonna stay in. If he hits Focus Blast, then I still, I can go Rachi and try and prevent the setup from whatever mon is gonna come in. And if it goes Lucario, I can go Starmie and then get a heal on Skarmory and shit like that. So I was like, I'm gonna take the risk. First of all, it's Focus Blast. It can always miss. It's a shit move, and it's also why you should not use Gengar, honestly, because you're asking to get hacked. It's not even hacked. You're asking to. You're just putting yourself in a disadvantageous position in a lot of games. And it's also why I don't use Gengar, even though it's technically really good. Like, but it's just not reliable. It's so shit because you gotta prepare against Gengar with the idea in mind that it's gonna hit all of its moves, but you cannot prepare with it, as in like have it on your team with the idea that it's gonna hit its moves. So it's just a really shit mon, and it fucking sucks. I wish it wasn't in the tier, honestly. It would make the tier a lot better because it would remove some variants and it would also just ease the team building factor. Sometimes I just ignore it in the builder because, or rather ignore it, I just don't put a counter into my builder because, again, I almost always have like T-Tar and some steals, and Focus Blast is just fucking shit, and if push comes to shove, I can always dodge, which I do here. Helpful. I think I had pretty good cards, regardless of how this turns out, because again, I can trick the Rachi if it's a Rachi, and if it's not a Rachi, I can just sweep with my own Raji and Ladias. He goes Lucario. I thought that to Starmie because it's the obvious play. And then I go to my own Raji. The reason I did this was because I tank. In hindsight, it was maybe not the best play. But the reason I did this was because I tanked and I wanted to prevent DD from setting up. If it was like a taunt or whatever, from getting two DDs. In hindsight, this was maybe my biggest mistake this game. I should have, because I could have also let, because if it was like boosting T-Tar, I could have always gone to my own T-Tar, but I wanted to keep T-Tar for like in case it's a Calm Mind Raji, since I already end up having it. Um, but yeah, I think keeping this healthy was actually better, just in case it's a Calm Mind Raji that actually has like Thunderbolt or something. So I hidden power this, I kill it, and he reveals Raji, which was the last one I wanted to see. If it's Calm Mind Thunderbolt now, I could be in trouble. He turns out to be Calm Mind. I Thunderbolt once, just test the waters, and this was kind of a 50-50, because if his Psychic zero attacks or anything, I just lose. I don't just lose, but if it's Grass Knot, Calm Mind, and it attacks her, then I lose, because T-Tar gets 2-hit KO'd, but he Calm Minds again, and I get the trick off, and now it's just, if it's Thunderbolt, he can maybe, he could have won if it was Thunderbolt. Luckily for me, it was Draco Meteor, and I could go to my Raji and tank that, and then just PP stall it with Skarmory and win that way. The Focus Blast mid was helpful, but I also think if I don't miss the Wisp, actually, this game is super easy. Like with Starmie alive, there's close to nothing he can do against it. He just loses to it. So I'm not too fussed about that. And also, I don't fucking care. People who use Game deserve to get punished for it. You're asking for it. Yeah, it was a good game. This team's one of the best teams I brought this SPL. A lot of the teams I brought were jank and maybe cheese, and some of it was a lot of best of one shit, just targeted to specific players. But this year is actually just an overall good team that has a lot of uses and just is fun to use and has counterplay for everything. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know if you liked it or if you didn't, or if the sound quality was bad, or if I could improve anything. See you around for the next one probably. GG.